The evening air is cool against your skin. You've dimmed the lights, you've slowed your breath. In this quiet moment before sleep, you are invited into a deeper stillness, not just of the body, but of the mind. Let go of the day. Let go of effort. You are safe now. You are home in yourself. Let me tell you a story. A long time ago, a wise Zen master lived atop a quiet mountain temple. His name was Nanin, and he was known for saying very little. But when he spoke, the whole mountain seemed to listen. One afternoon, a university professor came to visit Nanin. He was a man of great knowledge, full of books and theories. He had studied religion, philosophy, and psychology, and now he had come to learn about Zen. Nanin welcomed the man with a bow and offered him tea. The professor began to talk. And talk. And talk. He spoke of Buddhist scriptures, of comparative philosophy, of what he already knew. Nanin listened quietly, his face calm as still water. Then he picked up the teapot and began to pour. He poured tea into the professor's cup until it was full. Then he kept pouring and pouring. The tea spilled over the cup, onto the table, and down onto the floor. "Stop," the professor cried. "The cup is full. No more will go in." Nanin smiled. "Like this cup," he said. "You are full of your own opinions and knowledge. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" The professor fell silent. Sometimes, what we call knowing is the very thing that keeps us from understanding. We fill ourselves with answers, but we forget how to listen. We carry the past into the present and wonder why nothing feels new. We seek truth, but we do not create space for it to arrive. You too may be carrying a full cup. Thoughts of today. Expectations of tomorrow. Beliefs about yourself that you've never questioned. Tonight, you are invited to let the cup empty. Let go of the need to figure it all out. Let go of what you think you know about yourself, about life, about the path. Let your breath be a stream that rinses your mind clean. Inhale. Exhale. Begin again. There is wisdom in emptiness. In Zen, emptiness does not mean nothingness. It means openness, spaciousness, a mind free from grasping and resistance. When the cup is empty, it is ready to receive. Let your thoughts pass like clouds. No need to hold them. No need to chase them. Just watch. Return to the simplicity of this moment, the breath moving in and out of your body. The sensation of stillness. The sound of silence. The invitation to soften. When you stop trying to be someone, you become everything. When you stop trying to get somewhere, you realize you're already here. Tonight, allow your cup to empty. Let your mind settle. Let your heart be still. You do not need more information. You need space. You do not need more answers. You need quiet. You do not need to fix yourself. You need to remember who you are beneath the noise. And so, like the wise Zen master Nanin, pour it out. Gently, silently, lovingly. Pour out the day. Pour out the expectations. Pour out the past. And in that sacred emptiness, rest. It's late now. The world outside has grown quiet. You feel the weight of the blanket, the rhythm of your breath, the hush between thoughts. The night is not asking you to achieve anything. It is simply holding you in presence. Let me tell you another story. A young monk came to his master with a question that had been troubling him. "Master," he said, "what is the truth?" The master looked at him kindly and said nothing. The monk waited. And waited. He repeated the question, louder this time. "Master, what is the ultimate truth?" The master only smiled and returned to sweeping the garden. Frustrated, the monk asked again the next day. And the next. Each time, the master responded with silence, or with a smile or a bow, or by continuing his simple chores. Weeks passed. The monk began to doubt. Was the master avoiding the question? Was there no answer at all? Then one morning, as he sat beside the master in meditation, he noticed something different. He noticed the sound of the wind through the bamboo, the warmth of sunlight on his face, the way the incense curled upward into stillness. And in that moment, no words, no concepts, just awareness. He understood. The master had been answering all along. In silence, the monk had found the truth. Sometimes the answers we seek cannot be spoken. They are not found in books or lectures or philosophies. They arise when the mind becomes quiet enough to hear what has always been present. You too may be searching for clarity, for peace, for meaning, but perhaps what you seek is not hidden. It is only waiting for you to be still enough to notice. Zen teaches us that the finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. Words are only symbols. They can guide, but they cannot replace direct experience. The truth is not a sentence. It is a silence. So tonight, practice listening. Not to thoughts, not to stories. Not to noise, but to the space in between. The space within. When you ask a question, do not rush to answer it. Hold it gently. Let it sit like a stone in a still pond. Watch what arises. There is wisdom in stillness, in the gentle unfolding of insight that cannot be forced. Just as a flower does not bloom faster when you tug at its petals, awakening cannot be rushed. It comes when the time is ripe, when the noise has softened, and the heart is open. So breathe. Feel this moment fully. Let go of the urge to analyze. Trust that, in the quiet, something sacred is already speaking. It does not use words. It uses presence. It uses stillness. And when it touches you, you will not need an explanation. You will only need to bow. Rest now. Let the story fade. Let the silence answer. The night deepens. The breath becomes softer. Thoughts lose their grip, like leaves falling gently from a tree. You are drifting inward, not away from yourself, but toward the center where truth rests, quiet and patient. Here is your next story. A student approached his Zen master with a curious question. "Master," he said, "what is the sound of one hand clapping?" The master did not respond with words. Instead, he handed the student a broom and pointed to the garden. Day after day, the student swept the garden, chopped wood, fetched water. Every night he returned to the same question, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" But the more he tried to answer it, the more confused he became. He asked others. He read scriptures. He meditated in silence. Still, no answer came. One evening, exhausted and discouraged, he sat beneath a tree, watching the moon rise. His mind was too tired to think. He simply watched, listened, breathed, and then, in the stillness, he heard it. Not with his ears, not with thought, but with awareness. The question had shattered his usual way of seeing. It had pushed him beyond logic, beyond duality, beyond self and other. And in that space beyond, he found no answer, only presence. That was the answer. The Zen koan, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" is not meant to be solved. It is meant to dissolve you. It is a doorway, a mirror, a flame that burns away concepts. When the mind can no longer grasp, it falls silent. And in that silence, something deeper awakens. You too may be holding questions, questions that ache for answers. But some questions are not meant to be answered, only lived. What is the sound of one hand clapping? What is your true nature? Who is it that breathes? These are not riddles. They are lanterns lighting the way inward. Let them guide you, not toward conclusion, but toward presence. You do not need to solve yourself tonight. You only need to feel the space where questions end. Let your breath move like a feather. Let your mind loosen its grip. Let the need to know rest. You are not here to figure it all out. You are here to awaken. Not through effort, through openness. As the student discovered under the moonlight, sometimes the answer comes when you stop looking. Sometimes the deepest truth is not a sound, but the space that holds all sound. Breathe into that space now. Let yourself dissolve into silence. Let yourself hear the sound of one hand. The room is quiet. Only your breath moves now, slow, steady, healing. Sleep has not yet come, but your body has begun to surrender. Your mind is softening. This is the space where deep truths arrive without effort. Let me tell you a story. Long ago in Japan, a young nun named Chiono practiced with great devotion. For many years, she sought enlightenment, meditated daily, studied the scriptures, and served her temple with humility. Yet the awakening she longed for did not come. One evening, she was carrying water in an old bamboo bucket. The full moon lit the path ahead. Suddenly, the bucket broke. The bamboo slats split open, and the water spilled onto the ground. In that instant, she looked up and saw the moon reflected on the wet earth, shining clearly. Something opened inside her. She laughed. She cried. She whispered, "No water, no moon." And in that moment, she was free. What does it mean? The bucket represented her seeking, the effort, the discipline, the clinging to practice itself. When it broke, everything she thought she needed disappeared. And yet, in the emptiness, the moon, enlightenment, was still there, perfectly reflected. Sometimes it is only when what you've depended on falls apart that you see what has always been true. You spend your life building buckets, identities, achievements, beliefs, routines, hoping they will hold your worth. But when one cracks, when a plan fails, or a role disappears, you may feel lost. Yet in that breaking, there is a gift. No water, no moon means there is nothing to hold, and yet everything is already here. Zen teaches that awakening does not come from adding more, it comes from letting go. From releasing your grip. From allowing the bucket to break. Have you been carrying something too long? A burden? A story? A fear of what happens if you stop striving? What if, tonight, you set it down? Let the bucket fall. Let the water spill. Let the effort dissolve. You may find, like Chiono, that the moon was always there waiting to be seen clearly reflected in the stillness of your own being. You do not have to try so hard. You do not have to hold everything together. You only have to open your eyes and look. The moon does not hide. It only waits for you to stop searching. Tonight, let what needs to fall, fall. Let what needs to break, break. And trust that in the emptiness that follows, you will find light. No water. No moon. Only peace. Only this. The world outside sleeps. And within you, something is also resting, a deep layer of resistance slowly dissolving. The space between thoughts widens. The heart breathes again. Here is your next story. A mighty samurai once visited a humble Zen monk. Though feared on the battlefield, the samurai came not to fight, but to ask. "Tell me, master," he said, "what is the difference between heaven and hell?" The monk looked up at him and sneered. "You," he said, "a samurai? You're nothing but a brute, filthy, clumsy, and stupid. I bet you couldn't even cut a melon cleanly." The samurai's face turned red with rage. He drew his sword, lifted it above his head, ready to strike. The monk held his gaze and said softly, "That is hell." Stunned, the samurai froze. Slowly, he lowered his sword. His eyes filled with tears, and he bowed deeply. "And that," the monk said, "is heaven." In a single moment, the samurai saw the truth. Heaven and hell were not places, but states of mind, created by how we react, how we perceive, how we hold our thoughts. Zen invites you to see this clearly. Hell is not in the future. It is in the now when you are consumed by anger, pride, jealousy, or fear. Heaven is not somewhere far away. It is here when your heart is open. When your mind is still, when compassion arises naturally. You have walked through both, perhaps even today. The shift happens in a breath. Right now, ask yourself gently, what am I cultivating within me? Is it resentment or forgiveness? Grasping or surrender? You don't need to be a warrior to feel these fires. The battlefield is within. Every time your ego is challenged, every time someone doesn't meet your expectations, every time you want to be right instead of being kind. The monk in the story did not explain heaven and hell with philosophy. He showed it. He revealed it through experience. Zen does not offer answers. It offers doors. And tonight, a door opens for you. A door to see that you are not your reactions. You are the awareness that sees them. You can choose. You can bow instead of strike. You can breathe instead of rage. You can smile instead of judge. The sword can return to its sheath. The breath can return to the body. And peace can return to your heart. As you rest now, let this story stay with you. Let it soften your need to control. Let it invite compassion. Heaven is not a place to go. It is a way to be. And in this quiet moment, breathing, listening, releasing, you are already there. Night wraps around you like a warm, soft cloth. The breath is now a whisper. The eyes grow heavy, but the spirit remains gently awake, listening, open to wisdom that arrives without words. Tonight, I'll tell you this story. There once lived a Zen master named Ryokan. He was poor, owning only a robe, a bowl, and a mat. He lived in a little hut at the edge of the forest, writing poetry, playing with children, and watching the moon. One night, a thief broke into his hut, only to find there was nothing to steal. Ryokan returned and caught him in the act. But instead of anger, he said kindly, "You've come a long way to visit me, and you shouldn't return empty-handed." He removed his robe and handed it to the thief. The thief, stunned and speechless, took the robe and fled into the dark. Ryokan sat naked, gazing at the sky. "Poor fellow," he whispered, "I wish I could give him the moon." He then wrote this poem. The thief left it behind. The moon at my window. This story is not just about generosity. It is about freedom. Ryokan had nothing, and yet he lacked nothing. because what truly mattered could never be stolen. The moon, the sky, the present moment, these were his treasures. What are your treasures? Not your possessions, but your peace, your clarity, your freedom from fear. You may spend your life guarding what you own, your reputation, your image, your opinions. But Zen asks, who would you be without all of that? What cannot be taken from you? The thief left with the robe, but Ryokan kept the moon. Even in loss, he was complete. Tonight, as you lie in silence, ask yourself, what am I afraid to lose? And then look deeper. If it can be lost, is it truly yours? The truest self cannot be stolen. The deepest peace cannot be broken. You don't need more to be whole. You only need to see what is already here. You can lose everything and still have the moon. You can be left with nothing and still be free. You may think your safety lies in having, in controlling, in protecting. But Ryokan reminds you, your safety lies in letting go. Let go of what can be stolen. Let go of the fear of loss. Sit with what remains: silence, breath, presence. These are the treasures no thief can touch. And tonight, as the moonlight rests across your pillow, remember, you already have everything you need. Just look up. Just look within. Just be. The night holds you in its gentle palm. Every sound is softened, every sensation slowed. You are more than ready to rest, but something inside remains awake, listening, not with ears, but with presence. Let me tell you another story. It was a cold and rainy evening in the mountains. A traveler, soaked to the bone and shivering, arrived at a remote temple seeking shelter. His clothes were tattered and his spirit weary. The temple door creaked open. A Zen master stood there, holding a single cup of tea. Without a word, he welcomed the man inside, led him to a small wooden bench by the hearth, and placed the cup of tea in his hands. Steam rose between them. The room was silent. The traveler began to weep. He had expected to be questioned, evaluated, perhaps even turned away. But instead, he was simply seen. No judgment, no demands, just warmth, just tea. That cup of tea changed him more than 1,000 sermons could have. In Zen, the smallest gesture can carry the deepest teaching. A bow, a broom, a breath, a cup of tea. Because it is not the thing itself, it is the presence behind it. When you give with full presence, it becomes sacred. When you receive with full awareness, it becomes healing. Tonight, think of your own life. The moments that touched you most, were they not often simple? Kind word, a gentle hand, a shared silence. You do not need to change the world to bring peace. You only need to offer what is real, and to offer it fully. You may not be a monk in a mountain temple, but you have something just as powerful. The ability to be present, to listen without fixing, to sit without judging, to give without needing anything in return. That is love. That is Zen. A warm cup of tea in the cold rain. Tonight, as you lie still, let this image rest with you. The traveler, the master, the tea. Let it remind you, the sacred is not somewhere far. It is here in every act of presence. You are not waiting to be worthy. You are already worthy of peace. Breathe in the warmth. Breathe out the struggle. Offer yourself the same presence. No need to solve. No need to strive. Only a cup of tea. And stillness. The night is almost complete. Sleep hovers near. You are not rushing toward it nor resisting it. You are simply resting in the quiet, in the breath. In the rhythm of each word falling like soft rain. One final story for this night. A young monk was preparing to leave the monastery after many years of training. He had studied the sutras, practiced meditation, chopped wood, carried water. Before he departed, he asked his master one last question. "Master," he said, "if I could only understand one thing before I leave, what should it be?" The old master looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he raised his hand, pointed to the sky, and said nothing. The monk waited. No reply came. Just silence. A bird passed overhead. A breeze moved through the trees. A leaf fell. The master continued to say nothing. And then, without warning, the monk understood. There was no answer coming. There never had been. There was only this. This sky. This breeze. This breath. The question dissolved. And in its place, stillness. Sometimes, the most powerful teaching is the one that ends all seeking. Zen does not give you what you expect. It gives you what frees you. And sometimes what frees you is nothing at all. No final words. No grand conclusions. Just this moment exactly as it is. As you prepare for sleep, let this final story echo in your body. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to find the perfect insight. You don't need to arrive at some perfect state. You are already here. This breath is the answer. This silence is enough. The moon outside is full. The night is whole. And so are you. Let everything be as it is. Let every thought settle. Let sleep come when it's ready. No more seeking. Only being. Only this. Only now.